Hello everyone, today I'm going to be discussing quantitative tightening. So this is opposed to quantitative easing, which I discussed in my last video from last week. I would recommend checking that out if you don't know what quantitative easing yet is, because I'm kind of going to go over this video with the knowledge of quantitative easing at hand. But getting right into it, quantitative tightening is when the Federal Reserve reinvests less money into assets than it receives in coupon payments from previously purchased bonds. And this reduces the overall money supply in the economy. So this definition is a lot to unpack. So just kind of going over it. The best way to do this is just with an example. So through quantitative easing, the Federal Reserve will purchase a bond from a bank. Let's just say a bank for $1,000 bond. So they purchase the $1,000, the money goes over to the bank, and then the Federal Reserve gets the bond. And this bond is attached with coupon payments. So let's say every month the bank needs to pay the Federal Reserve $100. So those are the coupon payments that go to the Federal Reserve. So every month that happens, and the Fed then, when they receive these coupon payments, they have the choice of either reinvesting those coupon payments back into more bonds, which would then go into the money supply, or they can choose to not reinvest any of it, in which case they would just hold the $100 and then never spend it because they can only use it on purchasing new assets. Or they can do a combination of both. So they can purchase more bonds with some of that money, say $75, then the other $25 would just be sitting there, not in the money supply. So anything less than the full $100 would be quantitative tightening because it reduces the Fed's balance sheet in that instance. So anytime the bank would pay the Federal Reserve $100, and then the Fed holds that $100, and let's say they only reinvest 75 of it back into bonds. $25 is going out of the money supply in that circumstance. So that would ultimately reduce the overall money supply or the Fed's balance sheet, which is when quantitative tightening occurs. So quantitative tightening is the exact opposite of QE. QE increases the overall money supply. QT decreases the overall money supply. And when central banks use quantitative tightening, they do so usually to tackle rising inflation. But this is done way less often than QE in most circumstances. And then at the bottom of this, I just included a chart of the Fed's balance sheet over time. Starting here on the x-axis, we just have a list of the years. And then on the y-axis, I just listed out the different numbers of trillions of dollars. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, that's going to represent trillions of the Fed's balance sheet. So starting in 2007, it was very low. This was before quantitative easing was used. And then in late 2008, 2009, that's going to be when there's a little spike there up to around $2 trillion for the balance sheet. That's because of the financial crisis at the time. And then over the years, it does slowly kind of gradually increase like a staircase. And then here it just kind of like slowly increases a little bit more in around 2013 to 2015, and actually in around 2015 2016 it does start the decrease for many years here. So this is going to be a period of quantitative tightening because the Fed's balance sheet is getting reduced at this time. And then finally, looks like right around 2020, late 2019, that's when there is a bump in the Fed's balance sheet. So quantitative easing was used back then, and then ever since in 2020 and 2021, because of COVID and the injection of money into the money supply, that's when the spike really occurred, taking us all the way to today in 2021 October, where it's currently sitting at about $8.5 trillion as of right now, and we don't exactly know where that will go in the future, but it's probably still going to increase quite a bit, even though the Fed does want to taper off a little bit. But I'm guessing this is definitely not the end of quantitative easing. But yeah, this video just kind of went over the differences between quantitative easing and quantitative tightening. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.